In the last video, we were talking about that ICT has a 1 to 10 effects over the traditional industry's carbon emission reduction. We are on the way of transforming to a green, digital, and efficient world, with more and more demands of ICT products, including the products for connectivity and products for computing. I can't help to ask how ICT sectors control and reduce its own carbon emission. This makes me to look at some big companies' growing strategy and growth. For example, Telefonica, the giant operator who is big in Europe and Latin America. In 2019, Telefonica announced that they would achieve carbon neutrality, which means net zero emission, by 2050. This was a target aligned with GSM-8's target, but just after a year, in 2020, Telefonica modified their target year for carbon neutrality. They said their net zero emission time would be advanced to 2030 in their principal market like Europe, just 8 years from now. In such short time, we really want to ask if Telefonica can successfully reach this new target. According to their strategic plan on being net zero, they pay big efforts in three aspects: improving the energy efficiency, using as much as possible the renewable energy, and decarbonizing along the complete value chain. Finally, they estimated there would be just 10% of the carbon emission which they couldn't avoid. They will try to offset them either through trading or carbon absorption projects. Telefonica's strategic plan is quite valuable and relevant. In this video, we will talk about the first 2 points for decarbonization of the whole value chain and offsetting the emission. We will make other videos to introduce these 2 parts. If you want to know more about them, please let us know in the comments area. First, let's take a look at the energy efficiency. The power consumption on every data unit is always considered to evaluate this factor. We all heard about the big power consumption of 5G base station, but when it comes to the energy efficiency value, the industry found that 5G now is consuming 90% less power compared with 4G when transmitting the same amount of data. How the industry makes this? During the research and development, equipment vendors tend to include as many new technologies as possible. These new technologies include from very high-density processor chipsets, sophisticated design of the self-cooling system inside the equipment box, the very simplified implementation of the base station size, or the way to the intelligent network management system with a lot of power-saving features and AI big data technologies. And even the material to build 5G equipment is very special. We can see many manufacturers claiming that how many new technologies and patents they applied in a small white box to make the network and connectivity powerful at the same time growing. For the computing part, there have been so many discussions and talks about the green data center in the industry. For example, in 2020, the global data center power consumption was 205 billion kilowatt-hour. This number was 194 billion in 2010, just increased by around 10% for a decade. But the computer instance of global data center increased by 5.5 times over the same time period. This is showing how energy efficiency increased over 10 years in the field of data center. The reasons behind these numbers: first, the Moore's law. Every 18 months, performance of computer chips doubled, but the power consumption kept more or less the same. Moore's law plays half of the functions for data centers' energy efficiency. Green Data Center Solution play the other half. Green Data Solution is a group of new technologies together for lower PUE, which is a key factor being used to evaluate how green is the data center. PUE is a rate. It is calculated based on how much energy the data center consumes a year, and among this energy, how much is used for the IT equipment. For example, in a data center system with a PUE of 2, the energy consumption of IT equipment accounts for 50% of the total energy consumption. Another 50% comes from air conditioning system. which usually accounts for around 35%, power supply system 10%, and the other energy consumption comes from lighting and office support system. Currently, data center providers are actively deploying new technologies like HVDC, liquid and natural cooling such as indirect evaporative cooling system. With additional technologies like smart control based on AI and modular structure, PUE could be greatly reduced. After the hard work on energy efficiency, ICT sector also worked heavily in renewable energy. According to researchers, 50% of the total energy consumption in ICT sector is renewable. This is pretty high rates and leading the whole world, but players are still not satisfied. Telefonica said they want to transform to 85% green energy by 2025 and completely by 2030. What's more, Dutch Telecom mentioned they achieved 100% renewable energy by 2021. More big companies are on the track to be pure green consumers, which is good for develop more green technologies and solution providers. Currently, maybe you heard about the Tesla Powerwall system. That's a great idea, mainly focusing on family use. For the industry, there were more professional renewable energy solutions, including the wind power and the solar power. Almost all product vendors have developed their own solar energy system. They design solutions to use the best solar panel, control module, lithium batteries, and software algorithm to make the whole solution working very efficiently. Here, everyone is pursuing the extreme efficiency rate from 91, 92, 93, 94 to be as close to 100 as possible. Compared with traditional industries, ICT sector is pretty young. In the last 70 years, the carbon emission of the industry grew from 0 to about 2% of the whole world. But considering these big efforts carried by the whole industry, even we are closing to provide mobile connection to 6 billion people in the world, the whole world digital transformation is speeding up. We are still able to control the carbon emission and reduce our carbon footprint. What do we still need? I think there is still something very important, the support from the government and policymakers. They could form more rules to help the green energy easier to be accessed by more people and help empower people, family, communities, companies, and whole society through digital and green transformation so that everyone could contribute to a green, efficient, and sustainable future.